What's up, y'all? Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. We have made it halfway through the week once again. Seems like just yesterday was hump day, but here we are yet again. Another midday hump. We are on the downhill side of things once again. Welcome back to Traffic Talks. Hope y'all have been having a good week and things haven't been too crazy for you. Today I wanted to share some encouraging discouragement with you guys. Can I do that? Some encouraging discouragement with you guys, and you'll understand what I mean by that in a second. So a lot of people today, you've probably heard it preached on YouTube, you've probably heard it preached from the pulpit even. A lot of people will say that God won't give you more than you can handle. Well, I'm here to tell you that's a bunch of BS. Bologna sandwiches. That there's no such thing or no such verse that says that in the Bible. There's nothing that says God will never give you more than you can handle. Yeah, sure, it's a nice sentiment. It's just not true. All throughout the scriptures, we see examples of God giving people way more than they can handle. Over and over again, God does this. We see this with the Israelites at the Exodus when they're between the Red Sea and the Egyptian army. There's nothing they could have done on their own power to get out of that situation. Yet, with God's help, He parted the Red Sea and they were able to walk through on dry land. You see that with the story of Gideon, right? Gideon starts out with 10,000 soldiers in this army that he's going to take into battle. And God says, no, you don't need that many soldiers. And he whittles them down and whittles them down a couple of times until Gideon's only left with 300 men to go and fight this huge army that's got probably hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Gideon was left with more than he could handle. And yet God helped them defeat the enemy even with only 300 men. You see this with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were thrown into the fiery furnace for standing up for their beliefs and for not bowing down and worshiping the idol. They could not have handled that furnace on their own. Yet with God's strength, and of course with what we believe to be a Christophany, a picture of Jesus in the Old Testament, there was a fourth man in the fire with them that got them through that fire unharmed, unburned. Not even a hair on their head was singed. They didn't even smell like smoke when they came out of that fire. We see with Daniel in the lion's den, he was thrown into a den of lions. There was no way he could handle that on his own. The lions should have torn him apart. But with God's power, he made it through the night unharmed and came out the next day. And yet the men who betrayed him to the king were thrown in because the king was so upset with him. And the Bible tells us they were devoured before they even hit the ground in the lion's den. So Daniel definitely could not have gotten out of there on his own power. Over and over and over again, we see these kind of stories in the Bible of God giving people way more than they can handle. And you know why that is? It's so that God's glory and God's power can be put on display. Because if we were given things that only we could handle, well then we could take the honor and the glory for ourselves. And God wouldn't get the glory. But God gives us these impossible situations in order for us to have to lean into Him and to rely on Him. In Psalm 23, David says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for Thou art with me." Right there, we see that he's walking through the valley of the shadow of death. God didn't take him out of it. God didn't take him around it. He took him right through it. But God promised that He would be there with him in that valley. Hebrews 13:5, God tells us, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." God is going to be with us no matter what we're going through, no matter where we're at. He's always on our side and He's always helping us win the battles, even though it's more than we can handle. We even see this with Paul in 2 Corinthians 12, where he talks about this thorn in his flesh that's bugging him and that he can't get over, and he asks God 3 times to take it away, and every time God tells him, "No, my grace is sufficient for you." And then Paul ends up concluding, "Even though I am So even in his own weakness and even with this thorn in his flesh, he was strong through the power of Christ. So I want to encourage you guys, if you're going through something that seems impossible, that's probably because it is impossible. And that's exactly why you're going through it. So that God's power and God's providence can be put on display. Again, God promises to be with us through our trials and in the valley of the shadow of death. He promises to provide our needs and to take care of us. He never promises that we're not going to ever go through hard things and we're not going to ever go through difficult situations that we can't overcome on our own, but he does promise to be with us through them. So I encourage you guys, next time you're going through something that you can't handle, man, give it up to God. Call on his name. Cry out to him in prayer. He wants you to come to him so that his power can be put on display. Always go to God first, no matter what you're going through, no matter what situation you're in, no matter how hard life seems, no matter how big your giant seems, God can overcome it in his power. So again, the fact that people tell you God will never give you more than you can handle, that's not true. God gives us more than we can handle all the time, but it's through his power that we're able to get through it. I love you guys. Y'all have a good rest of your week. As always, I appreciate you tuning in and listening to these talks. God bless y'all. We'll catch you on the next one.